I was the family's tech support, emotional dumping ground, and backup plan. When they said, "Better you than him," something inside me snapped. I stopped answering their calls, stopped fixing their problems, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. When my dad said, "If one of you has to go, it's better you than him," I didn't even flinch. It was like my body already knew, like it had been rehearsing for that moment since I was 12. The part that sticks with me isn't even the words, it's the way he said them, flat, like he was reading a menu. My mom didn't argue, didn't say wait, didn't even blink, just nodded and turned away like the decision was obvious. Like it wasn't even a decision. That's when something cracked. Not loud, not explosive, but small and final, like a thread snapping inside. I didn't argue, I didn't beg. I just said, "Okay," and hung up. I spent the night staring at the ceiling, the words echoing in my head like they were branded there. Better you than him. No tears, just this slow burning anger that felt older than I could explain, like it had been waiting. And now it finally had permission to rise up and take the wheel. The day I stopped answering, it wasn't even dramatic, just one text. My mom asked if I could pick up groceries again. No mention of what had happened the week before, the things they said, like it hadn't even registered. I stared at the screen for a full minute before I set the phone down and walked away. That was it. I didn't block them, didn't delete the thread, just didn't answer. That night, my phone buzzed 3 more times. Groceries, the thermostat, a bill login they couldn't figure out. I turned the phone over, screen down. By the next morning, the missed calls had started. By that weekend, voicemails. I didn't listen to any of them. I thought I'd feel guilty, but all I felt was quiet. The kind of quiet you don't notice until it replaces the noise you thought was normal. They didn't stop calling. I just stopped showing up, and somehow that felt louder than anything I could have said out loud, fixing things. It used to feel like helping. I'd fix the router, the oven clock, the sink. My dad would grunt a half thank you. My mom would act like she'd done it herself. I didn't mind. I told myself it was love. But that last time, standing in their basement holding the same old router, something shifted. I could hear them through the vent, whispering about draining savings for Nelson again. Same script, different crisis. It wasn't about the router anymore. It was about me realizing that I was the fix, not just for tech problems, for everything. Their backup plan, their emotional band-aid, their unacknowledged crutch. I fixed their lives so well, they never had to learn. I unplugged the router, plugged it back in, and sat there a minute longer than I needed to, just thinking. When I went upstairs, I didn't say anything, just handed it over and left. I knew then. I wasn't coming back to fix anything else. Not the Wi-Fi, not the family, golden child. I used to wonder if Nelson knew, if he realized how everything bent around him like gravity. But that call we had, when he asked me to just help them out again, cleared that right up. He knows. He just doesn't care. Maybe it started when we were kids. He'd break something and cry, and I'd get scolded for not watching him. Or when he crashed the car and Dad blamed the weather. Me? I got grounded once for forgetting to take out the trash. He's always had an excuse, always a rescue. I used to think he was just lucky. Now I think he's just smart. He plays helpless, and the world hands him a cushion. When I told him I needed help with surgery and he ghosted me, that was all the proof I needed. He doesn't just know he's the favorite, he counts on it. And me? I'm just the one who was dumb enough to keep hoping that might change. Voicemails I don't listen to. The first one was Dad. He said, "It's important, call back." The second was Mom, crying, saying they couldn't pay something. By the 5th message, Dad was angry, calling me ungrateful. I stopped checking after that. They piled up like junk mail, each one a reminder of how much they needed me now that I was gone. It was weird. For years I wanted them to notice me, to hear me. Now I had all their attention, and I didn't want any of it. Evelyn asked once why I didn't just delete the voicemails. I said, I like knowing they're there, not to listen to, just to know they had to say something when I finally stopped answering. Every time I see the little red icon on my phone, it feels like a win, a quiet one, petty maybe. But after being invisible so long, even a voicemail feels like proof I mattered, if only because they finally noticed I left. One conversation. They kept asking for it. Just one conversation, like it would fix the years of silence I swallowed, like I hadn't been shouting in ways they refused to hear. One night, I picked up. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see what they'd say. Maybe I wanted to see if I'd changed. It was quiet for a second. Then my mom said, "We didn't mean it." And I just said, "Yes, you did." She tried again, said Nelson was in a bad place, that families should support each other. I asked her when that rule started applying to me. Silence. My dad finally spoke, asked if we could meet. I said no, told them that one conversation wouldn't erase a lifetime of being second place, that I wasn't doing this so they'd beg. I was doing it so I could breathe. I hung up, blocked their numbers for a week. That was the conversation, the only one they're going to get. Backyard silence. I stood in the backyard that night, just staring at the same patch of grass where I used to kick a soccer ball when I was 10. The porch light flickered like always. The garden was half dead, just like always. And inside, my parents were arguing over Nelson. Just like always, I leaned against the railing, scrolling through Reddit and pretending I couldn't hear them. But their voices carried, Mom whispering in panic, Dad raising his voice about bail, about money, about fixing things. I was the only thing that had changed. The silence between us had grown teeth, and I could feel it biting down every time they ignored me. I thought about knocking on the glass and asking if they needed help. I thought about walking away and never coming back. I did neither, just stood there, breathing in the quiet like it was medicine. The world didn't end. The stars didn't fall. I just realized I didn't want to go back in. Not this time. Not for them. Password reset. It started with the banking app. My dad called, annoyed, said the account was locked. Asked if I could come by and fix it. No, how are you? No, hope the surgery went okay. Just, we need your help. Nelson's busy. I said, why don't you reset the password? He muttered something about not remembering the old one. I said, then maybe start writing them down. He got quiet. I could almost hear his pride cracking. My mom texted an hour later, your dad's frustrated. Can you just do it? I didn't reply. That night I sat with my laptop and looked at all the things still tied to my name, their utilities, their Netflix, old phone accounts, stuff I'd set up temporarily years ago, passwords I'd created, security questions I answered. I logged into each one and started clicking remove access. They'd have to reset everything now. I imagined them trying to answer questions like, what's your first pet's name? And laughed. It wasn't about the apps. It was about control. For the first time, I wasn't giving them the answers. Not tech support anymore. They used to joke I was their IT department. Our little genius, my mom would say when I fixed the thermostat or got the Wi-Fi back up. I'd laugh, play along, maybe even feel useful. But I wasn't just the tech guy. I was the one who knew the passwords, who understood the insurance letters, who called customer service when things went wrong. I didn't mind, not at first. It felt like a way to be needed. But it twisted. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being love and became obligation. Now, when my phone lights up with Mom, it might as well say task request. The last time she called, it was about the printer. I let it ring. Then another call. Then a text. Can you just look at it remotely? No, please. No context. Just like always. I stared at it for a while and then typed, I'm not your tech support anymore. She replied with, wow. That was it. Just, wow. But for once I didn't feel guilty. I felt like maybe I was finally debugging something that really mattered. Me. The grocery delivery app doesn't work. The message came in while I was eating dinner. My mom. Why can't I log into the grocery app? Nothing's working. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message. I can't get the order in. The password isn't saved anymore. Did you change something? I didn't. I just removed my card. That was it. No announcement, no speech. Just one less thing they could lean on. The app didn't break. I just stopped paying. It's funny how something so small can feel so final. For them, it was an inconvenience. For me, it was a line drawn in digital sand. I pictured my mom, frustrated, toggling between tabs, wondering why nothing worked, probably thinking it was the app's fault. Never theirs, never Nelson's, never the years of me giving and giving until I stopped. I put my phone face down again, finished my meal. In their world, the groceries not showing up is a glitch. In mine, it's the first sign they're going to have to figure it out without me. The grocery delivery app doesn't work. The message came in while I was eating dinner. My mom, "Why can't I log into the grocery app? Nothing's working." I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message. "I can't get the order in. The password isn't saved anymore. Did you change something?" I didn't. I just removed my card. That was it. No announcement, no speech, just one less thing they could lean on. The app didn't break. I just stopped paying. It's funny how something so small can feel so final. For them, it was an inconvenience. For me, it was a line drawn in digital sand. I pictured my mom, frustrated, toggling between tabs, wondering why nothing worked, probably thinking it was the app's fault. Never theirs, never Nelson's, never the years of me giving and giving until I stopped. I put my phone face down again, finished my meal. In their world, the groceries not showing up is a glitch. In mine, it's the first sign they're going to have to figure it out without me. "You're the strong one." She said it like it was a compliment, like it should make me feel proud. "You've always been the strong one." It was her way of explaining why I didn't get help, why they didn't show up when I needed them, why Nelson always came first. "He's fragile. He's not like you." I used to carry that like a badge. I'd swallow the hurt and tell myself I was strong enough to handle it. I thought being dependable meant I was loved. But now I know strong was just their excuse. It meant I could suffer quietly, that I wouldn't fight back, that they could count on me to clean up after everyone while they coddled Nelson through every self-inflicted mess. When I reminded her about the surgery, how I asked for help and was told I could go, she just said, "We knew you'd be okay." But I wasn't okay. I'm still not. Being the strong one meant being alone. And the thing is, strength isn't silence. Strength isn't swallowing grief so your brother doesn't have to. Strength is finally saying no. And this time, I meant it. Blocked numbers, unblocked pain. Blocking them was easy. A few taps, quiet, clean, like closing a window on a storm. First Nelson, then my dad, then my mom. I thought it would feel cruel. It didn't. It felt overdue. The silence afterward wasn't peace, though. It was a spotlight. Suddenly, there was nothing between me and the things I'd been avoiding. The resentment, the loneliness, the years of swallowing everything just to keep the peace. I kept picking up my phone out of habit, expecting a new task, a demand, some crisis I had to fix. Nothing. Just a dead space where noise used to be. You'd think cutting them off would feel like revenge. It didn't. It felt like grieving. Not for them, but for the version of me that kept hoping. The kid who thought if he was useful enough, quiet enough, strong enough, they'd finally see him. I blocked their numbers, but the pain? It came through just fine. It wasn't loud, it was constant, but at least it was honest. And for once, it belonged to me, not them. Venmo requests and empty fridges. It started with a $47.12 request. No note, just numbers. I stared at it for a while, thinking maybe it was a mistake. Then came another. $89.55, then $22.40. Groceries, probably, or bills. My mom didn't even ask, just sent the requests like I was an ATM that forgot to clock in. I didn't pay any of them. Didn't reject them either. Just let them sit there, unanswered. A few days later, I got a text from my dad, just a photo of their empty fridge. No caption, no greeting. Like guilt could fill the silence between us. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. Not because I didn't care, because I did. That's the worst part. I still cared. But caring didn't mean I owed them my lifeline. They'd made it clear who mattered when I needed something. And now they needed something, and I was finally empty too. Let them feel it. Let them sit with their own fridge, their own choices, their own silence. When the door didn't open, she pounded like it was urgent, like someone was dying. I looked through the peephole, my mom clutching her purse like she was ready for war or confession. I didn't move. She knocked again, harder this time, yelling my name, then softer, saying, "Just talk to me, please." But I stayed still, heart racing, hands clenched, jaw locked, because I knew what would happen if I opened that door. She'd cry, she'd beg, she'd guilt, and somehow I'd end up saying sorry, again. I stood there for minutes, watching her shift from anger to desperation. Finally, she said, "We didn't know what else to do." And that was the truth. They didn't, because I had always been the solution, and now I wasn't. Eventually, she left, slowly, like she thought maybe I'd change my mind. I didn't. I sat on the floor after, back against the door, not crying, not proud, just tired. Tired of being the one who always opened it. Letters I never replied to. They came in waves. Not real letters, texts, emails, the occasional DM on platforms I forgot I had. My mom sent long messages filled with stories I'd heard 1,000 times. How hard things were. How Nelson was going through it. How family sticks together. My dad's were shorter, angrier. "You think this is fair?" Or, "You're not acting like a son." I read them all, every single one, then closed them without replying. Each one felt like an attempt to reset the story, to skip the part where they told me I didn't matter. But I remembered. I still hear those words. "If one of you has to go, you don't get to say that and expect things to go back to normal." I wasn't ignoring them to hurt them. I was protecting the part of me that finally believed I deserved better. Their messages piled up like junk mail, full of everything they should have said years ago and nothing I actually needed to hear. I didn't need another explanation. I needed space, and silence was the only way I could hold it. Instagram comments from a mom. It started with a heart emoji on a photo I posted 6 weeks ago, just me at a coffee shop. Nothing special. I stared at the notification for a long time, like it was in a foreign language. The next day she commented on another one. "Handsome as always. Call your mother." The smiley at the end nearly broke me. She hadn't interacted with anything I posted in years, not when I graduated, not when I moved out. But now? Now that the bills were stacking up and Nelson was gone, suddenly she knew how to find my Instagram? Then she messaged me. "You look tired. Are you eating?" I almost replied. I really did. But then I remembered the last actual conversation we had. How she chose Nelson. How she didn't even pause before saying I was expendable. And suddenly, the comment didn't feel sweet. It felt like a hook, like bait. I left it there, didn't delete it, didn't block her, just let it sit like a portrait in a cracked frame. Public love after private abandonment. The last time I fixed the Wi-Fi, it was like muscle memory. Walk in, nod, hello. Head straight to the basement where the dusty router sat blinking like a little machine begging for help. I didn't even get a thanks anymore, just, "It's not working again," like it was a job I never applied for but couldn't quit. That day, though, something felt different. My dad was pacing upstairs. My mom was whispering on the phone. They didn't even look up when I arrived, just waved me toward the problem like I was the plumber. I unplugged the router and sat on the cold floor, listening through the vents. They were talking about Bale, about Nelson, again, always. My name never came up. I was just a background character in their crisis. When I finished, I walked upstairs and said, "It's working now." My dad didn't say anything. My mom didn't look at me. I stood there for a beat longer than usual, waiting, hoping, nothing. That was the last time I fixed their Wi-Fi, and the last time I tried to fix us. Why I never told Evelyn everything. Evelyn's always been the one I text when the weight gets too heavy. She listens, sends memes, tells me I'm not crazy, but I've never told her the whole story. Not the exact words my dad said, not the way my mom didn't flinch, not the moment something in me just quit. She knows about Nelson, about the favoritism, but only in the way you know a storm's coming because the sky looks weird, not because you've been drenched by it. I think I'm scared if I say it all out loud, it'll sound like I'm exaggerating, like I'm some bitter kid looking for sympathy. But I'm not. I just don't want to feel like I imagined it. That phone call, the one where they told me I was disposable, was real. And if I tell Evelyn everything, I'm afraid she'll say what I already hear in my head sometimes. Maybe they were just stressed, or worse. Maybe you're being too harsh. So I keep it vague. Just enough to vent, just enough to survive. Because some things hurt more when someone tries to soften them. Joint accounts, split hearts. They tied everything to me, not out of trust, out of convenience. The phone plan, utility bills, streaming subscriptions, even the backup email for their bank account. When I was 22, they said, "It's just easier this way. You're good with this stuff." And I was. Too good. I kept it all running, clean and quiet, while they handed Nelson second chances like candy. I thought being useful made me valuable. But when I needed help, real help, they chose him, again. So I started untangling it, one login at a time, sat on hold for hours, changed passwords, removed my cards, closed what I could, my name disappearing from their lives, not in a dramatic way, just log out, click, gone. They didn't notice at first. Then came the calls, the texts. Why can't I log in? Because you used me like a tool, and now I've put myself back in the drawer. Funny how something as boring as a billing address carries so much weight. Split hearts don't show up on bank statements, but they bleed just the same. A note in the garage. I went when I knew they'd be out. Doctor's appointment, I think. Parked 2 blocks away. Walked in with a spare key they forgot I had. The house looked the same, like time hadn't touched it. Dust on the mantel, mail on the counter, a half-eaten banana browning beside the sink. I went straight to the garage. My old toolbox was still there. So was the bike I never rode again after middle school. I grabbed what was mine, an old laptop, a box of cables, my college hoodie they always said they'd donate if I didn't take it. Before I left, I wrote a note on the back of a faded water bill. Don't call me for anything else. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. I left it on the workbench, right where Dad kept the spare screws and batteries. It wasn't dramatic. No yelling, no final monologue. Just a quiet exit from a life I kept fixing. I closed the garage door behind me, slow and final, like shutting the lid on something I never planned to open again.